What's up, my fellow emo, pop punk, metalcore music lovers? Matrix here, and you are locked into the Matrix Music Review Podcast, the only place to get your scene music fix and the best place to discover your new favorite band. We are back with another one of our catch-up episodes. We only got a few more of those left, I promise, and then we'll be all caught up and I'll be back on track. And right before we hit our mid-year podcast, which will discuss the best albums of the year so far, the best songs of the year so far, new bands, the entire gamut of what has happened so far in the scene this year, and what we look forward to in the next part of the year. As always, at Matrix Music Review on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Instagram is the best place to follow along. It's where I announce all the tours that are coming soon, all of the new playlist updates, all the new stuff that's going on. That's the best place to stay in touch with me. Head on over to YouTube and subscribe there. I'm trying to do more video content, but I need more subscribers to be able to do that, so make sure you're subscribed over on YouTube. If you're listening on Apple Music or Spotify, leave a 5-star review, leave a comment, let me know how I'm doing, and let me know if there's something else that I need to review. I'm more than happy to take a look at anything that you guys send to me and give it a listen and then give it a review. And so with that, today we have 4 reviews to do, 2 EPs, 2 albums. So this could be an extremely short podcast for you guys, because this was one of the slower weeks that I did when I was not feeling so well. So this is going to be really, really short, but I want to know what you guys think, and there's some important stuff to talk about on this one. So let's kick this off with Sweet by Mayday Parade. This is an EP/album from Mayday Parade, depending on how you look at it. It's either the newest one since 2023, which was a single pack, or you can look at since 2021. Depends on how you want to look at this. But Mayday Parade has released Sweet, and I feel like this is just classic Mayday through and through. I think you get up-tempo summer jams, slow down emo jams, and it's almost perfect for the time that it was released. It was right before they went out on Warped Tour, so they can get some of those songs incorporated into the set to boost them a little bit, and it also gives us some soundtracks for our summertime. 4,000 Days is exactly what I'm looking for. And the chorus in there of "the hardest part is letting anything go" is so big. It's got such a great swell to it. And I love that. I love that that's a thing. The other thing that I want to point out here is that we get a Knuckle Puck feature on this, on Who's Laughing Now. And Knuckle Puck is really becoming the kind of go-to band for features this year. I think it's insane to me that I've heard a few Knuckle Puck features, and all of them tend to be some of my favorite tracks of the year, whereas the single that Knuckle Puck has released this year really wasn't my favorite. There's nothing wrong with it, I like it, but it's just not my favorite that they've done this year. So they've been featured on a Mayday Parade song, they've been featured on a Stateside track, they've been featured on a Shoreline track, and they're really just becoming that band to reach out to if you need a feature, and I think that's awesome. I think that shows the respect for them in the genre, and I think it shows their status in the scene as well. I think that's amazing. The midpoint of this album, with a track like Who We Are, has a perfect mid-tempo sound that works with it perfectly, and it really jolts me into my overall thought on this EP, which is, as a pretty large Mayday Parade fan, it is interesting to me that even as we sit here in 2025 with them releasing new music, and even as someone that got to see them at Warped Tour, their music still has the ability to not only transport me back to mid-2000s, middle and early high school, but it has the ability to just recapture that energy for me as well. On an album like this, we get a song like Towards You, Natural, and 4,000 Days, all of which really have their own unique ways of transporting me back to somewhere where it felt like I was in my happiest moment, or it's in the happiest feelings. And that's so impressive. And it's so impressive for a band to be able to do that, 20 plus years later. Here we are listening to new music in songs like Natural, having the same feeling as when I was listening to Jamie All Over, or I'm listening to Towards You and I'm getting the same emotional response as when I listen to a song like Miserable at Best. And that is so impressive, and it's so fun for a band like Mayday Parade to have such a lasting impact, not just on me, but a lot of people. And to just see them continue to put out and not change and be who they are. And so as we finish this review, I'm considering this an EP. I think they consider it an album, but I'm considering it an EP, especially since they're going to do a second part later this year, I believe. And so this is a 5 out of 5 EP for me. There is not a thing wrong with this. This is perfect for summertime. And even the biggest scene hater will love at least something on this EP. So if you haven't checked it out yet, go check out Sweet by Mayday Parade. Next up, we got Joyride the Pale Horse from Heart Attack Man. This is the follow-up to Freak of Nature, which was one of my absolute favorite albums of 2023. And I feel like upon initial listening of this, it's less in your face than that Freak of Nature album. There's still a little bit of edginess to it, but I feel like musically it's a little bit more dialed back, and it's not as heavy and in your face as tracks like C4 and things like that. There's still some songs that hit with that, with End of the Gun and Spit, but it just doesn't feel like it has that heavy feel to it or that edge to it in that sense. But the edginess is still there in the lyricism, because you get lines like, what if I jumped into traffic, and different lines like that that really make it. And I think for me, this album was such a hard one, not only to listen to, but to review, because it doesn't fit any of what my subgenres would be. And so it's really hard when it's kind of an all over the place album to come up with what box it fits in. And that's tough for me sometimes. I try to not put things into a box right away. I let them kind of be what they are. But at the end of the day, I need to have some sort of guideline for you guys to tell you, like, hey, this is more on the metalcore side. Hey, this is more on the pop punk side. Like, I don't have that with this album, so it was really difficult for me to review this. I'll See You There is one of my favorite tracks, and I think it's kind of a punkish mid-tempo track that really fits that Heart Attack Man style that I love. But then we have a song like The Gallows that just didn't work for me for some reason, and I think that's why I went into this album with such kind of this weird view of it, because that was released as a single, and when that's released as a single, that is not what I was expecting coming off of Freak of Nature. So it kind of started me off on the wrong foot, and that's just something that I was never able to really get over. And it just really didn't connect for me. It's an album that I do want to go back to and revisit a few more times before I do this mid-year list, because I feel like sometimes when I get started off on the wrong foot, I don't really listen the way that I should to an album. And so that's really what happened here with this Heart Attack Man record. I'm going to give it a 7.7 out of 10 at this point, just because I haven't had enough of a chance to spend more time with it. But I think this is one that I need to spend more time with, and it might be one that you guys spend more time with as well, just to kind of get a feel for it. So let me know what you think if you've listened to it so far. Joyride the Pale Horse by Heart Attack Man. Let me know what you think. Next up is another EP called Exit 9B by Sam Hauge. Another one of those artists, similar to our last episode when I discussed Bridge the Gap, where this is kind of a sophomore release from an artist that I discovered back in 2023 and instantly had a really strong connection with. And instrumentally, this starts out with something similar to what I have heard on the Skeletor record from Ghost, and even Sam himself has a Tobias Forge vocal delivery in the very beginning. And so that was kind of interesting to hear, and it was definitely something that maybe it's just me hearing that, but it was definitely something really cool to hear. You also get a little bit of Reliant K vibes from Sam on this EP, and I just love the variety that always comes with whatever you get from Sam Hauge. You Still Remain is kind of this track that really tells us that the expectations make a mess out of everything, and it's slower and more introspective, and it flows into a high energy track like Too Late for Second Guessing, and it just shows off the guitar skills. Now, I haven't had a chance to really investigate this, but I know last time Sam did all of the instrumentation on that debut album, so I'm expecting that that's probably what happened again here, and it just shows the talent level that comes up. And one of my absolute favorite tracks off of this EP, and it's so far, it's got to be one of my favorite tracks of the year, Only When You Provide, is the EP ender here. And this song is so open to interpretation and so open to personal connection that it could feel religious, or it could feel longing, or it could feel very relationship driven. But it is such a good track that has this perfect swelling up and down and up and down, and it takes you on that journey with you. And I love that it's like, if this is the end, I don't regret anything. And that's kind of like you would be getting this at the end of a movie almost, too. It's just this perfect swell into Only When You Provide is kind of the end of it all here. So this is a 4.5 out of 5 EP for me. Another really strong sophomore follow-up by an artist that I really, really enjoyed back in 2023. This is going to be my highlight of the week this week. Sam Hauge is an artist that needs to be on your radar. If you haven't heard of him yet, go check out the first album. Check out this EP, Exit 9B, and let me know what you think. And the last review that we have here is The Darkest Place I've Ever Been by Landmvrks. This is the fourth album from the French metalcore band, and this album starts with the opener and the title tracks, which absolutely blast you into this experience. And experience has to be the word that I use for this album, because it is absolutely an experience, because you have such a variety of vocal deliveries throughout and a variety of instrumentation throughout that it really does require you to be fully immersed in it. Now, lyrically, I'm not going to be able to do much because I have no idea French-wise. I struggled in some parts with that, but I feel like that also adds to it. You know, it's similar to what we had with Bloodywood earlier this year, with that mixture of English and whatever other language is being spoken or sung throughout this album. I think there was a perfect feature on this when you have While She Sleeps. Those two blended together so well. And you also just get this intriguing rap part on Blood Red. So it's a very interesting album because they almost feel overly storytelling in a nature, every single track on this album, and The Great Unknown puts you in that space where it feels like it's you. It feels like you are experiencing everything that's happening in this The Great Unknown track. And vocal delivery wise, I don't know that there is one thing vocally that is not done on this album. You have screams, you have snarls, you have grit, you have smooth melodic singing, you have rapping, you have just about everything that you could think. But Landmvrks also is a band that shines when they put their heavy mixture in on a song like Deep Inferno. And even though I say, oh, they shine on a heavy mixture track like Deep Inferno, I think it also has some really, really beautiful parts on a song like Funeral, where it's so unexpected musically from them to get this more echoey, emotional track. And you guys know I'm not huge on echoey vocals or just echoey sounds at all. So to get something echoing that I like is almost unheard of. But it works for them. It works for what Landmvrks is trying to say. It works for what Landmvrks is trying to do. And I think that's really what stood out for me all throughout this album, is that I don't know what I expected going into The Darkest Place I've Ever Been, but when I came out of it, I was so surprised and so happy with what this album was, that it's hard not to appreciate this. And so overall, this Landmvrks album lands at an 8.2 out of 10 for me. It was such a fun experience. It was one that was extremely unexpected and one that I cannot recommend enough for people. Go listen to this album. Go tell me what you think and see if you have the same feeling of this is an experience, not necessarily just an album. And let me know what you think. So, new album from Landmvrks, The Darkest Place I've Ever Been. That wraps up our catch-up episode number 2. We have 2 more to go, and those will be released hopefully next week as I get those recorded and made up for you guys. As always, I appreciate you guys tuning in and staying with me on some of these catch-up episodes. I know it's been a while since we've done some consistent content, but I'm happy to get back into it and get you guys what I know you're looking for. So, as always, go follow on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Matrix Music Review. Head on over to YouTube, follow at Matrix Music Review there as well. Leave me a 5-star review, leave me a comment, let me know how I'm doing, let me know if there's anything you want me to cover, let me know how everything's been going so far, let me know what your favorite release of the year is so far, let me know all of those things. And so with that, I'm out of here. I will see you guys next time with more music, more reviews, and the next introduction to your next favorite band. See you guys then.